we are talking about ADHD and exercise. We're going to do two parts today because one, I'm a nerd about this. I actually was a health and wellness major and was going that direction for my career, and then did that actually in the mental health field. So I ended up interning at a mental health facility, and I've trained like seniors. I've worked with special needs kids, which was so fun. Like doing like movement and exercise with like young kids with Down syndrome or autism. And it was like so fun. And then I moved into mental health and I would work with, be part of the team there that would help integrate different healthy habits. And then landed in real estate, actually. I was actually going for a degree in social work and did not get into school, and really wanted to help people. And then somehow landed in real estate and it just totally worked out. So anyways, a chance where I can talk about my degree is really fun, especially mixing with ADHD. So we're going to do two parts. And really what we're doing with these two parts is one, I want to talk to you about the neurochemicals. So, and what it does. And I think with ADHD, and if you're on the spectrum as well as a lot of us, I don't know about you, for me, I want to know the logic behind something. Does anybody resonate with that? It's like, I'm not going to do something just because you told me. I want to understand, like, what's the purpose? Why am I doing this? Does it make sense? Is it practical? Is it not practical? Instead of just like follow this rule or exercise every day because you should. And so what you'll find, and I'm going to go deep into our neurochemicals in our brain to start off with, before we even get into the other stuff, is I want you to know why. We could probably do part 3 and 4 on this, because exercise really, not really, like literally changes your brain chemistry. It can also heal trauma too. And a lot of us have trauma, myself as well. And so it can actually help heal the brain. It prevents dementia. I mean, I'm not going to list all the things that exercise does just in general, because you can probably Google it, and we'd have like a whole month of this. But I want to talk to you first about the neurochemicals, because I think all of us can probably agree that with ADHD, we have these gifts, right? And I would love to have more of the gifts of ADHD. And then I would love to have a little bit more control of maybe the things that are harder, and that's what comes with a brain of extremes. We have these beautiful, amazing things about our brain that other people can't compete with who are neurotypical. And then we have these other things that feel really hard, where other people might find not as difficult or kind of normal. And so this is what exercise does. It's a tool. And as we talk, I want to talk to you about the neurochemicals. The way that I look at exercise for myself with ADHD is that it's like medicine. Doing some kind of movement every day is medicine. And growing up, I played semi-pro soccer. I played Division I soccer. I was also in track for Division I college. I was a dual sport athlete, and I played it my whole life. And I think having that really preserved some things for me, because school was very, very difficult. I'd like carve things on the desk. It was painful. But hey, we make this beautiful entrepreneur. So now as adults, if we don't have gym class or you're not in an organized sport, it's so important. So we're going to start off with first dopamine, right? So dopamine is our motivation, it's our drive, it's our follow through. And so for a lot of us, we have lower dopamine or difference in regulation in our prefrontal cortex, which is also our reward circuits. And so we can experience low motivation, task initiation failure, boredom intolerance, like it can feel painful, and we're constantly looking for novelty or newness. And so if you have impulse control, all kinds of stuff, right? If you're constantly seeking something new, you get bored, you don't feel motivated. Exercise is going to increase dopamine release. It also increases dopamine receptor sensitivity and increases dopamine transport efficiency. So it's not just, oh, there's this chemicals, we need it released, we need to receive it, and we need it transporting in our brain and our neural pathways to get it. So we don't actually just get more dopamine, like our brain actually becomes better at using what it already has, and is able to be more efficient. And so as an entrepreneur, whether you're in real estate or another type of business, dopamine controls whether we start tasks, whether we stay on them, whether we feel rewarded by our progress, because the brain is going to give us dopamine to start. It's going to give us little hits of dopamine as we're doing the task, and then at the end as a reward. And that's how motivation works in the brain. And ours can be a little bit more finicky, or can give us a ton of dopamine. We can stay on something forever, or then we start it and all of a sudden it's gone and we have no motivation to finish. So it's really interesting. So after exercise, a lot of times answering emails might feel a little easier. Calls might feel less painful. Our executive function might be easier, or procrastination might not be as strong. And I should do this turns into I'm doing it, right? And so that's why we can feel more normal after a workout. Another thing, if you're spiraling a bit, like maybe you have like negative thoughts, intrusive thoughts, you kind of ruminate. Sometimes, and I've talked about this before, that's our brain's attempt at creating dopamine. So if you have a stressful thought that's compelling, because boring thoughts aren't compelling, you have a stressful thought that's compelling, it's going to create cortisol, right? And cortisol creates endorphins and dopamine. So if you find that you're constantly having these like negative thoughts, you're constantly ruminating, have you ever then gone for a walk or got movement in and you're like, oh, that's not so bad, or I feel better. So sometimes our brain can get addicted to those loops because it's trying to help you get dopamine. It's trying to help you. Our brain is our friend majority of the time. I think all the time. Now, again, sometimes the chemicals can work against us if there's substance abuse or addictions or dopamine addiction and stuff. But again, if you find that you have a lot of negative thoughts and you get really in your head and you ruminate a lot, see if going for a walk or any kind of movement or any dopamine producing activity helps you, and it might actually calm those down versus trying to solve this thing and trying to be positive. And no, just get out of your head and get some movement in. So we could do a whole thing with dopamine, but exercise is incredible for dopamine. So the next one is norepinephrine. And so I haven't talked about this as much. So norepinephrine is also affected by ADHD. And norepinephrine is responsible for alertness, for focus, for mental energy. And so with ADHD, we can have low or unstable norepinephrine. So you might have, if you have low norepinephrine, you're going to have more brain fog. You're going to have more low, like mental stamina. You might zone out a lot, difficulty holding attention. That's another part of ADHD. And so exercise actually increases norepinephrine release, and then it improves the firing in, it's called the locus coeruleus. I might have pronounced that wrong. Locus coeruleus, um, Coeruleus. So that's the brain's focus switch, right? So it's going to improve the firing and it's going to improve the release. So with exercise, you're going to have sharper attention, better working memory, less drift, and you're going to have higher stress tolerance, which is important in entrepreneur. And so this is one of the things that's also boosted by Adderall, Vyvanse, Ritalin. So exercise is like a natural stimulant. So norepinephrine is another one. The next one is serotonin. So this one is for mood and emotional stability. So with ADHD, we're going to have more emotion regulation stuff, more mood volatility, might be more irritable, emotional crashes, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. So that extreme like fear of rejection. And so with exercise, it increases our serotonin synthesis, improves our receptor sensitivity, and it reduces emotional reactivity. So if you're impulsive, if you get big feelings really fast and sometimes you blurt out or you're impulsive or you say things you don't mean, this can really help. And so working with serotonin, you're going to have fewer mood crashes, less anxiety, less rumination, and less kind of like emotional stickiness or just getting stuck in stuff and feeling like you can't get out of it. So you're not going to spiral as hard, and your setbacks might feel less catastrophic, if that makes sense. So those are three ones. And then the fourth thing is endorphins. So endorphins are stress relief and emotional pain dampening. So when there's something stressful and it's like a lot, right? The endorphins come in, and it's a tool. It's not just to get us ramped up. It's also to like numb us out a little bit or cause stress relief. So good stress, like exercise or things, can be really healthy. And so think of it kind of as like the brain's natural opiates. And this is why it helps with depression. If you do exercise, this is part of that. So it also reduces physical pain and it can reduce emotional distress. So think of like endorphins as kind of like the pain management. And so exercise actually increases endorphins. We want endorphins. It's like pain. And so we're going to feel stressed a little bit less from clients. We might have less emotional pain from rejection, less overwhelm from our workload, and more emotional resilience. So that we want that in our work too. And then this is really interesting. So there's something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So it's and I'm deep digging a little bit deeper into the neuroscience. And so it's kind of like the thing that grows new neurons. So it kind of strengthens connections. It's like fertilizer for the brain. And so it's going to improve your learning, your memory, which I know a lot of us, anybody would like better memory, right? And our plasticity. And so ADHD brains have a little bit lower of this brain derived neurotrophic factor or BDNF. And so we have a little bit slower executive function stuff too. And so exercise is the strongest natural booster for this that is known. That's boosts this. And so exercise makes us better at focusing, better at learning, better at self-control, emotion regulation. So you might even go down on your medication or not. I mean, I'm pro med, so not that that's always the goal, right? But you might need less or less caffeine. You might handle stress better, better impulse control. And then the next one, it's kind of wild when you get into this, is cortisol. So a lot of us can kind of live in like higher cortisol levels because we're more sensitive to things. And so higher cortisol is going to create inflammation in your body. It actually dampens and hinders dopamine. It can decrease our focus, increase our anxiety, and wrecks our sleep. So the part of the reason for this is cortisol is like our stress hormone, right? It's a thing we get to like fight or flight. And so when we're in this heightened state, other things like remembering to send that email, or cleaning up your desk. When you're in fight or flight or all or nothing or survival mode, it's kind of like your tunnel vision on things, and you're not just slowing down and kind of noticing things. And so um, exercise, yes, it gives us a little bit of a rise in cortisol if we're really pushing our body, but long term, it brings our baseline down. So exercise does create a little bit of stress, but it's like a healthy stress. And then it actually brings our cortisol levels down to a lower baseline. So you're going to have lower chronic stress. You're going to have better sleep. Anybody else want better sleep? More emotional stability and less burnout. And so we're talking about like walking, cycling, kind of steady movement is really good for this, not like pushing your body to this really extreme. It's kind of like a little bit more like low level. And we're going to talk about different exercise and stuff in this series. And then we have glutamate and GABA. So these are kind of the mental breaks, gives you a little bit more control over your thoughts, over your actions. And so with ADHD, sometimes we have too much glutamate, right? So it's like fuel. There's too much gas. We can't like slow it down. We just go, 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 go. And so too much glutamate and not enough GABA. So GABA is kind of the brakes. So glutamate makes us go, and GABA is to help kind of control and gauge that. So if you've heard of ADHD, people say it's like a oh, man, now I'm just gonna butcher this analogy, but it's like a, a Ferrari without brakes. I don't know. If you know what I'm talking about in the comments, let me know. But basically, like this great motor, but we don't really have brakes sometimes. And so when you are regulating your glutamate and GABA, you're going to have less racing thoughts, less mental agitation, and again, more calm focus. And so this is a little bit more tied to like walking and strength training. So it can feel really grounding. And so again, when as an entrepreneur, if we have exercise, more dopamine, it's going to be easier for us to start. More norepinephrine, better to focus. More serotonin, we're going to have less emotional chaos, be more regulated. More endorphins, we're going to feel stress not as much. We're not going to feel pain as much. More of that BDNF, our brain is going to create more neural pathways and neurons, lower cortisol, right? Decrease burnout, and more GABA, we're going to have less mental noise, and we can kind of control our thoughts a little bit more. So, can you see how like a crazy exercise is for ADHD? And so this is why like a 30-minute walk in the morning or even 20 can like change your whole day. It's like taking medicine, and it'd be kind of interesting to play with that. Like a lifting, if you go lift weights, which I love to do, that can really restore motivation and just make things feel better. So consistently getting movement in is going to change like your brain structure and how the chemicals work. So it's just amazing. So that's why we do this. And that's not even talking about like oh, I want to lose weight, I want to get stronger, all that stuff. No, we're literally just talking about the chemicals in your brain. We haven't even gone to the other stuff, which, I know a lot of us know what that is. So this isn't about weight. This isn't about looking a certain way. This is about like self-care. Exercise is self-care. And so a lot of people with New Year's resolutions around exercise, and this is something I noticed as a coach for, 8 years now. And I think I'm close to like 11,000 one-on-one calls, is a lot of times when, especially ADHD people, we set goals around exercise, it's almost like punitive or punishment or discipline. Like, um, it doesn't feel like this act of self-care. You know what I mean? It's like, I got to get more discipline. I got to get in the gym. I got to do this. I got to get firmer with myself. And so if you have what's called demand avoidance, which a lot of us do, right? Demand avoidance is a thing with neurodivergence. Too much structure and rigidity and discipline can actually cause us to rebel. And so what works for a lot of people, instead of this, I'm going to exercise because something in me isn't good enough and I need to improve that, or I don't look good enough, or I don't like my body, or I'm not fit enough. Like, I don't want to set goals based on that. That's like, I mean, go for it if that helps. But what about setting a goal because you care about yourself? What about setting a goal because you love yourself and you want to feel better and happier and you want to make your life easier? And it's like, setting a goal around movement is an act of caring for yourself, not some discipline or that you have to change yourself. Especially if you've got maybe some stuff around weight, because our culture and our magazines, just everything is so weird around weight and body image and things like that. And some of it's just really yucky and not helpful, especially for women. And so we have all this conditioning that to be lovable or to be desirable, we have to be this certain weight. And so then our goals around fitness are this punitive like thing that's not very fun. Versus like, no, I care about myself. I'm good enough now as I am, and I'd like to feel better and do things I want to. So if you're one to set really harsh, rigid goals, I encourage you to practice looking at it as like self-care. And then when you get up in the morning, it's like, ooh, I want to get up because I want to do this for myself. And that feels really good versus I need to get up because I'm not good enough and I need to close that gap. Those are two very different motivating factors. Um, and so when we bring in the exercise, it's really important for entrepreneurs because we don't typically have external structure, right? So we don't have it. There's not a time we have to be in the office unless you have a closing. So when you get in the habit or a pattern of exercising and you're creating that dopamine, it's easy to then transition into the workday. Because remember, with task switching, if we're going from sleeping, and maybe you don't do it in the morning, you can do it in the evening. I know people that do that too. But the morning can be good as well. It just depends. But if we go from resting to then work in this high, activity level, that's a big transition. And with neurodivergence, task switching or transitions can be harder for us. So instead of just, resting to work, if you have some kind of movement, whether it's like a 10 or 15-minute walk, you're stretching, you're doing yoga, like Pilates, like whatever you choose, it can be a really good stepping stone to then start work for the day because you've already kind of got yourself motivated, like your system's geared up. It's an easier transition, I guess. And so we like stimulation, right? So it's going to help with that. And exercise can last throughout the day. It's kind of crazy. So think of exercise as kind of a core regulator and like taking medicine versus just a hobby or something. And it's going to do all these things for us, including like help our nervous system. So a couple of things to note is that time blindness is something that we can kind of have trouble gauging. So gauging how much time it's been or how long something takes, those things. And so if you're somebody that keeps postponing it, what can be helpful, because it's, oh man, and now it's so late, I can't even do it, right? If you have maybe two windows, so maybe you have a morning window that your goal is to do it then. If for some reason you don't, you have an alternative option. Instead of, I do it in the morning, I missed it, I guess I'll try next time. That's that all or nothing thinking. So if you give yourself a couple options and maybe, here's the first window that's ideal. And then if you just can't do it, you have a second option or maybe a third one. It gives you three chances to hit it during the day versus you either hit it in the morning or you miss it. That's been really helpful for people. And so, and just want to throw that out there for anybody that's starting this now. And then we have this all or nothing thinking about it. If you miss one session, then you failed, you know? Or you can't do the hour workout, and so you're not going to do it at all. Versus, hey, I didn't get to the gym, and I can go walk around the block once. We're keeping the habit. We're going for that middle ground versus the extreme. That's something to look at as well. And just again, that all or nothing thinking, you very likely will fall off. That's really normal. And it's not about never falling off. It's about when you fall off, getting back on it. And that's, I would argue, is an even more important skill because everyone falls off of their workouts, like always, right? I was like, I mean, I represented the U.S. against the U18 Mexican national team in soccer. And I am, I would consider myself very disciplined, right? Like a dual sport athlete, structured. I've done time blocking, I've done all this stuff. I fall off. I have a health and wellness major. Like I trained for a career. I fall off of workout plans. I've done bodybuilding stuff. Everyone falls off. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're not disciplined. It doesn't mean you can't do it. So it's okay. What do I want to do now? What do I want to do today? So if you have this crazy workout and you did it and you did it and then boom, you just hit resistance and you're done, and you can't go back to that. Start doing something else. Because we want to look at the objective is movement every day. It's not to do this very specific extreme thing, and so because sometimes we can be really rigid, what's helpful is we do need structure, and flexibility within the structure is really, really helpful for us. And so, for example, if I have a client that comes to me and their goal is exercise and they have this really rigid workout, one question I ask is, when you hit resistance on that, what do you do next? And it's not if, like it's when. So yes, we're going to do that as long as it works. And when you hit a wall, instead of I've got to grind, I've got to push myself, I've got to go harder, it's what can I transition to that doesn't have as much resistance and still achieves the same goal of movement. And so that is the key to staying consistent with exercise for neurodivergence is not push harder, beat yourself up, get rigid, no excuses. It's when I hit major resistance, what do I shift to? So we want this like flow is what I've seen work really well, especially as someone who trained people. I saw that as well. And so if you're on want a workout plan, you hit a wall, switch it up. Now you walk every day for an hour around the lake. And when that gets stale, we want to keep it new. We want the dopamine. Now I'm going to go buy some rollerblades, you know what I mean? And rollerblade around the block or something. And when that gets done, I'm going to go get a membership at a rock climbing gym until that gets bored. I'm going to cancel membership and then I'm going to switch gyms. And this is what keeps people consistent is that rotation. If you beat yourself up and say, why can't I stick with rock climbing? Why couldn't I stick with this plan? What's wrong with me? That's where you beat yourself up and that's where you fail. So consistency with the goal is realistic. Consistency with the plan, I think, is mostly unrealistic. You could be the anomaly, but I want to throw that out there. Another thing is if you are the hyperactive type of ADHD, right? So we can have the inattentive type and we have the hyperactive type. The hyperactive type is moving, moving, moving. You can't sit still. You might be restless. You might be fidgeting a lot. What that's saying is your brain is trying to help you with that movement. It's understimulated. And so it's externally stimulating and doing things to keep that part of your brain engaged so you can focus, so you can regulate emotion, all those things. If you're hyperactive and you move a lot, exercise is going to be really, really big for you. I think that's like a must, as much as you can do that, because it's going to help regulate your brain and things are going to get a lot easier. If you have the inattentive type, which is instead of all the outward movement like this, you might appear very calm, but your brain is going, 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 going. So your brain is regulating and stimulating itself not through movement, but through thoughts, right? So it's this internal chatter that doesn't quiet. It might be rumination, it might be cortisol, those kinds of things. Exercise is going to be helpful because that's going to help you have a little bit more control of your thoughts, and kind of like stop the rumination. Each way, our brain's trying to help us in different ways, whether it's a lot of movement or a lot of thoughts. Exercise is going to address either one. So if you find you can't sit still in meetings and you don't know why you're so restless, exercise is going to help you. If you find that you just ruminate tons and tons of thoughts, internal chatter, your brain makes you exhausted, exercise is going to help that too. So it does the same thing, but addresses different things. Until next time, until Tuesday, we'll go to part 2. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Yeah, have a wonderful, wonderful day.